I'm sitting here right now with one of my go-to guys when it comes to NFL betting, one half of the You Better Bet radio show / podcast. I think he actually made up the term wagertainment. The great Nick Kostos. How are you today, Nick?
Well, Slop, thanks for having me. I did make up the term wagertainment, and then the company I work for, Odyssey, trademarked it behind my back. That's okay, because I love working for them. But yes, wagertainment is a Nick Kostos original creation.
Awesome. I love that idea because at the end of the day, to me, sports betting is literally the highest form of entertainment. And I love the fact that we can talk about it as a form of entertainment instead of, the investing, the nerd side of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's like a happy medium to be drawn where you can kind of like take the craft seriously and try and win and try and place the best possible bets, but I don't think it has to be stuffy or has to be talked about like we're on Bloomberg News or anything like that. You can have a lot of fun with it. I think at the end of the day, for the vast majority of sports bettors are big sports fans. And like I grew up and I'm still a massive sports fan. You're a massive sports fan. I'm sure your listeners and viewers are massive sports fans. So basically we're talking about sports, but we're doing it through the betting prism. And we're kind of like putting our opinions on the line, trying to beat the market. So just like the confluence of those two things, I think that's kind of like the proper way to do it. We try and do that. I know you do as well.
100%. I love it. I can't get enough of it. But if you're wondering what the hell we're doing here today, we need NFL futures like bad. I am so jealous of all the people that were holding Philadelphia Eagles to win the NFC tickets last year. And I want that for us this season. I really think that moves like that happen right now, like in this part of the calendar year. What's your take on that? Is this when you might take wild swings like before markets can adjust?
Well, I think if you're going to take a wild swing, I think you kind of have to do it with teams that kind of have volatility, right, in their range of outcomes. Whereas, like, I don't know that Kansas City would be a team that I would want to take right now. Kansas City, obviously, I think is going to win in week one. They're 6.5 or 7-point favorites against the Lions in the season opener, like the favorite to win the Super Bowl, very likely to win that game. Now, maybe Kansas City or like other teams at the top of the board, whether it's Cincinnati, Buffalo, Philadelphia, San Francisco, etc., or maybe you wait for them to stumble a little bit in season to maybe try and get a better number. But when you look at games in week number one and you look at teams that kind of fall under the umbrella of, okay, like we kind of have an unknown commodity at quarterback. We have an unknown commodity at head coach. And if these two things click potentially, then, there could be fireworks and maybe this team could make a deep run. Where I think those are the teams that you'd be looking to target now. And like, I know the Packers are a team that I've talked a lot about this offseason on You Better You Bet. I know they're a team, Slop, that you're kind of into this year. And I think they kind of fit that profile. I think they're going to win week one on the road in Chicago against the Bears. If Jordan Love is good, I think they could win like 12 games in the regular season. I'm not saying that's a lock, but like I think it could happen for sure. I think that's the type of team to take a swing at right now. A team like the Packers, maybe it's the Atlanta Falcons, 3-point home favorites in week one against the Panthers, where if Desmond Ritter's decent, it's a really bad division. Why can't Atlanta be like the number 2, maybe even the number 1 seed in the NFC with a really easy schedule? Not saying they're going to get there, but volatility in the range of outcomes. I think those are the teams you want to target now. And to your point, Philly was coming off a playoff berth going into last year, but there was a lot of questions about Jalen Hurts. He was brutal in the playoff game, the loss against Tampa. People wanted Gardner Minshew to come in and play in that game. So I think that Philly kind of fell under that umbrella because unknown volatility with Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. So I think those are the teams that we're looking to target right now if you're looking to.
Yeah, so do you remember what their number was last year? Philly, I know. I mean, it wasn't like ridiculous, but it was definitely not something that they weren't a favorite. You know what I mean? They weren't like anywhere near what was I don't know, like guys talked about. Like they were viewed as a long shot. And Championship Sunday, guess who was playing? And also too, a lot of those guys that I'm jealous of had Eagles tickets and then 49ers tickets that they picked up during the year. So here they are during that game watching it like kings. No matter what happened, they were going to get paid. And I just want to be that this year.
All right, so let's make it happen. I think we've got some pretty good choices here.
Okay, so first, before you can win a conference, though, you got to make the playoffs. Everybody knows that. So for you, NFC-wise, I know you are on the Packers. Is that the way you're going to go?
Yeah, I really like Green Bay this year to make the playoffs. I think their price to win the division is ridiculous at plus 400. Like the fact that the Bears have shorter odds than the Packers to me is like absolutely wild. The Bears had the number 1 pick in the draft last year, and obviously like traded back. Carolina traded up. Had the number 1 pick in the draft. They bring back the quarterback and the head coach that kind of got them the number 1 pick in the draft. And this may run a little counter to what I was saying earlier, because you do kind of have here a young quarterback, kind of unknown ceiling, and a second-year head coach. So I think there's a case to be made that maybe Chicago could take that step forward if Fields kind of progresses as a passer, and maybe Eberflus is a great head coach, and we just don't know that yet. So it's within the realm of possibility. I just don't think that the Bears as a football team, like 1 through 53 on the roster, are there yet. Like, I don't think the defense is necessarily, I don't think it's there yet. The offensive line is improved, but I don't know if it's good enough to be really contend with the heavy hitters in the NFC. Whereas with Green Bay, it really just comes down to, can Jordan Love be even like halfway decent? Because the rest of the roster is really good. It's a good offensive line, obviously skill position players. I expect Christian Watson to be good this year. I like Jaden Reed, the wide receiver they took in the 2nd round, quite a bit. The run game is obviously there. Good pieces on the defensive side of the ball, where if Love can step in, and again, he doesn't have to be great. If he's average to like slightly above average, this team's winning at least 9 games this year. They're going to finish above 500. They're going to go over their win total. And I think Green Bay has a real good chance to make the playoffs. I think they'll win in week 1. At BetMGM, our show sponsor, Packers at plus 165. I really like that price for Green Bay to make the playoffs. And I've also bet them to win the NFC North at plus 400.
Nice. That makes me feel really good, Nick, because this morning, right before we started talking, I took them plus 170 to make the playoffs. Here's the thing. Bears week 1, they win. They got the Falcons, Saints, and then the Lions, then the Raiders. So, I mean, you're looking at a team that could legit, before their bye, they could be 5-0. I mean, that's not crazy to think. And then if that were to happen, though, that price is going to get nuked. You know, you're not going to be getting anywhere near what we're going to be getting right now for that. So, just for that reason. But I mean, even if they weren't 5-0, like what, 4-1, 3-2? I mean, you're in good position. Who are you playing in your? I mean, in the division, you got what, the Lions twice, the Bears twice, the Vikings. Vikings are still the Vikings. Like, they're good. Don't get me wrong. I think they're good. I think they should be the favorites to win the division. But like, really, are they? Is it just insurmountable for the Packers to actually win that division? So I like to look there to win the division, but plus 170 to me is crazy to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and just like another kind of like derivative of that thought, where like, if Jordan Love is good, then what? So like, let's construct that scenario, right? Green Bay goes 11-6, let's say, wins the NFC North. Is it likely that Jordan Love is going to win NFL MVP? No, probably not, right? You have to be the number 1 seed. You have to have a great statistical season. And even the biggest Jordan Love fanboys, I think, would say, you know, if Green Bay is going to do this year, it'll probably be on the strength of the run game and the defense. And maybe Love can connect with Watson and Romeo Doubs and like some of the young tight ends that they have. But I think it's more likely that this is going to be run game and defense here for the Green Bay Packers. So if they're going to go 11-6, kind of what happens as a result? I think Matt LaFleur probably wins Coach of the Year. Like, you ship out the first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback, and you take this new quarterback and you win the division, which we all agree. Even if you don't like Jordan Love, you have to at least acknowledge the possibility that if he's good, then the Packers are going to be good. And if that happens, then what happens? I don't think Love wins MVP. I think Matt LaFleur wins Coach of the Year. And that's obviously a longer price than the Packers to win the division, around 20-1, I think, at BetMGM and other sports books. I think that's another way to potentially bet Green Bay this year. If you think the Packers are going to be good, LaFleur, Coach of the Year, he will get a lion's share of the credit if Jordan Love and the team is good.
He has to. But, I mean, at the end of the day, though, start hot, get going, get rolling. You never know what can happen. And another team, other conference, kind of in the same situation, a similar situation is, do we know if this quarterback is good? And if this quarterback is good, this team will be good, is the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I took them to make the playoffs, plus 140 just this morning. Look here. If Kenny Pickett is good, then I think this team's going to be really good, because going through the last part of last season, they won 6 of their last 7 games. He got hurt very early in the one loss. It was a very close loss to the Ravens, and he didn't even play in another win over Carolina. So if he's good, then what's their ceiling? I mean, their defense with Watt back, I mean, Watt was hurt for a lot of last year, or else they probably would have been in the playoffs last year. They can get carried by their defense if their offense is just, kind of good. Here's the thing, though. What if they are actually, good? Pat Freiermuth, great target. Pickens, great target. Kenny Pickett, if he's, again, just taking a step forward, not horrible, he's a serviceable quarterback. Guess what? the Steelers will probably win that division. And I know that's saying a lot, but I mean, with the Bengals, but still, that could happen. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I don't think it's impossible at all. And you don't have to like preach to me about Kenny Pickett. I love Kenny Pickett. I loved him last year. I look at Pickett, and I'm a Giants fan, so I say this in a complimentary way. I see like young Eli Manning. And that does not mean I think Pickett's going to win, 2 Super Bowls. I'm not saying that's going to happen. But Pickett kind of has the ability where when the chips are down, even if he plays poorly for 55 minutes, at the end of the game, he's pretty nails. Like, he's pretty awesome in these end game situations, which is why I think Pittsburgh was able to pull out a lot of those late wins at the end of last year. I think my issue with Pittsburgh, and I'm not like outright disagreeing with what you're saying, my issue with Pittsburgh is while the rest of the NFL is really moving like quantum leaps forwards in terms of the offensive scheme and the offensive philosophy that they run, the Steelers are stuck in the Mesozoic era with Matt Canada running the show. Like, blame Canada? Yes, we will blame Canada when the offense is bad yet again this season. Like, it's a terrible scheme that I don't think is going to take advantage of these playmakers that you're talking about here. And I hope that I'm wrong, because I love Pickett, and I like when the NFL is more fun when the Steelers are good. I don't know that I can get there on Pittsburgh until they make a change in their offensive philosophy and get a new offensive coordinator. So I'm not saying it can happen, just that I wouldn't bet it. I'll go elsewhere with my AFC team to make the playoffs. Not as good a price. I'd like to make a case for Tennessee, but ultimately I think Jacksonville wins that division, and I don't think the AFC South sends 2 teams to the playoffs. But I'll go with Cleveland at plus 100, and I'm going Cleveland instead of Denver because I think Russ is shot. I think Jarrett Stidham's going to end up playing a couple games this year for the Denver Broncos. So I think Denver's probably a year away from getting there under Sean Payton. And with Cleveland, you kind of acknowledge that there's significant upside, but there's also some downside, right? Deshaun Watson was not great when he came back last year. And it's been a while since we've seen Deshaun Watson be good in the National Football League. But when Watson was good, he's a top 5 quarterback. If Watson gets back to even like 75% of what he was in Houston, this is a playoff team. Like they just are. And right now, week 1 against Cincinnati's really interesting because of Joe Burrow's health status, right? I expect Burrow to play in the game, but is Burrow going to be 100%? Is Cincinnati going to be more cautious in that game than they would have been otherwise? Are they going to drop Burrow back to pass 35 plus times in that game? If it's his literal like first thing that he's doing coming off this calf injury that he's got. So I think kind of the stars are aligning here for the Browns to potentially start 1-0. And defense really good coach, good offensive line, great run game, like a couple pieces at wide receiver behind Cooper, I think that are really interesting. And obviously the quarterback has the ceiling to be a top 5 guy. So Cleveland is a team that I would take a shot on. Slop, not a great price, but plus 100 I think is I think decent value on the Browns to make the playoffs.
Even money to me is good. Like right now, you're looking at some of these teams minus 170, minus 200. Like I can never get there on something. So if you give me something even money, you got my attention immediately right there. Especially a team like the Browns, like you said, the upside is there. I mean, I think Cooper is still good, like really good. So I mean,
very good. Had the best season of his career last year.
Yeah, no, well, people just are down on him. They're like, oh, yeah, Cooper there. Like, he's not really spoken of as, like, one of these top receivers in the league. He is. Like, he's legit. I mean, you give him a Deshaun Watson, now you got problems. So, no, I like that. I like to anybody that starts pretty fast, especially one that you're going to take before the season starts. You need a fast start. So, to steal a win from the Bengals week 1, that price is going to get nuked.
That's a home game.
Yep.
And that's a home game for Cleveland.
Yep. So, you'll never see even money again. Well, actually, you might if they were to go on a losing streak. But after week 1, they beat the Bengals. Then guess what, man? It's not even money anymore. It's not even close. Especially if they go on a run. But anyways, what's the most fun part about this season right now is talking about your NFC AFC winners. To be honest with you, I mean, I want to hold a ticket, Nick, that has over plus 1,000 on one side and over plus 1,000 on the other side. Like that would be so fun to watch. The championship Sunday, knowing that you couldn't lose unless you just went nuts on player props and got nuked. But maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe that does happen. I don't know. But anyway, from the AFC, of all the teams that you're looking at right now, like the odds aren't everybody is 0-0. The odds are out there. What are you looking at to win the AFC? Give me somebody that nobody's gonna say. Like we're not gonna say the Bills. We're not gonna say the Chiefs. We're not gonna say the Bengals. Like this. Who's a team that just could come out of nowhere and, I don't know, play in that championship game?
Yeah, I want to build some volatility in here, right? I want to take a shot on teams that are pretty volatile in this range if we're going to get away from the favorites. I think the Miami Dolphins have a ton of volatility this season. And that volatility, I think, obviously manifests itself in the form of their starting quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, where when Tua is healthy and when he's on the field, it's a team that's capable of beating anybody, right? Especially now with importing defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. Maybe the best defensive coordinator, basically since like Bill Belichick was a defensive coordinator in the NFL. Fangio, one of the all-time greats coordinating defenses. Now, losing Jalen Ramsey obviously hurts, but this is not a win total over, right? This is Miami gets into the playoffs, and then like you get this team with Fangio's defense, with Jalen Ramsey back, with the weapons that they've got on offense. Now, the offensive line does concern me a little bit. But with Mike McDaniel's scheme, like the Shanahan scheme, basically get the ball out of Tua's hands quickly, let him make, the short throw to Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, Devin Achane, the rookie out of Texas A&M, like unbelievable speedsters that will just run past the defense. I think the ultimate upside for the 2023 Miami Dolphins is to win the Super Bowl. Now, the downside is that, Tua gets hit on the first play of the season, gets concussed, and you literally never see him again. And I'm not saying that to be glib. That's in the range of outcomes, right? One concussion. And it's a wrap for Tua Tagovailoa. Mike White comes in, and maybe he can lead them to a playoff berth, but they ain't winning anything with Mike White as the quarterback. So this is the type of team that I would rather bet the Dolphins to win the AFC or win the Super Bowl than to go over their win total. Because I think extreme outcomes are in play for this team. If Tua's there, they're awesome. If he's not, they're middling. But if he is there, I think that the upside is for them to win the Super Bowl, at least make the Super Bowl. Miami at 11-1 would be where I'd be looking here.
Okay, I'm going to get not a little bit more ridiculous, but probably a lot more ridiculous. What about the Tennessee Titans?
I don't hate it.
The AFC?
I don't hate it at all.
I've seen them at plus 6,000 at some places. I've seen them at plus 3,000 at other places. So the market width is ridiculous on them. But that's probably what you want to see whenever you're looking at long shots, because, again, this is a ridiculous long shot. But to get into the playoffs, they're plus 250 at some places, plus 220, plus 230. So they're already kind of ridiculous to get in. But you look at their division, they're a Trevor Lawrence injury away from maybe walking away with that division, because the Colts are not going to be there near the Texans. That could be 4 wins right there. I do agree with you. What you said earlier is they're not getting in as a wild card, most likely, just because the AFC South having to send 2 teams in that loaded AFC is kind of crazy. I mean, I guess it could happen, but I don't know, not likely. So they'd have to win the division. They'd have to get through Jacksonville. But again, things happen throughout the season. And let's not forget, though, Mike Vrabel is a legitimate head coach. I mean, we've seen them give Patrick Mahomes trouble. I mean, they're probably the only team that really has given him trouble. Like on the, defensively, they've been around against the Chiefs, which is insane. But again, like you got to win the playoffs, and Vrabel has proven he can do it. Tannehill, not that bad. I mean, it's not terrible. You give him a good defense, which I think that defense got just annihilated by injury last year. So maybe that doesn't happen this year. So now you got DeAndre Hopkins. Why would he go there? That was the first thing I thought, was like, man, he must not care about winning, because why would he go there?
Well, $15 million. Helps.
Yeah, well, I mean, also money kind of helps.
I would also sign with the Tennessee Titans for $15 million.
Yeah, I want to be on the record as saying that if the Titans want to give me that much money, I will definitely sign there as well. But I guess my point is, there's no chance he's just like, I'll just take all the money. Like, some part of him thinks that team can win. And not that DeAndre Hopkins, what he thinks about teams really sways my opinion. But again, just an elite athlete goes there. So now they got somebody to throw to. Derrick Henry, I mean, he's getting up there in years, but again, still a beast. So what if they come on? What if you're sitting here Championship Sunday and you're holding a Tennessee Titans plus 6,000 ticket? I think that would be probably one of the greatest days of my life.
Yeah, I love that. And I don't dislike the play at all here. I think there was some concern that I had, at least after the way the season ended, that I really felt like Tennessee was likely to move on from Ryan Tannehill. And then they draft Will Levis at the top of the second round. And I'm thinking, okay, like, what are they going to do the rest of the offseason here? Like, is this team trying to compete this year, or are they going to punt this year and this is going to be a rebuild situation? Because remember, like, Mike Vrabel, in addition to being the head coach, is like kind of now like the shadow general manager.
Yep.
Like won the power struggle during last season with, departed general manager John Robinson. So I feel like, what's the signal going to be here? Like, what's Tennessee planning to do? Is Levis going to play this year? What's going to happen? And I think the signing of DeAndre Hopkins kind of signals that Tennessee's in this year and is trying to compete. Like, otherwise the signing makes absolutely no sense. So now you have like a legitimate pass catching group for Tannehill. You said that you don't think Tannehill's bad. I'll take it a step further. I think he's good. Like, I think I think he's good. So, like,
I thought you were going to say, I think he sucks.
I mean, like they were the number 1 seed in the AFC 2 years ago. They went to the AFC Championship game 4 years ago. Like, with Tannehill as the quarterback both times. Like, he definitely doesn't. I think he's way underrated. Like, I mean, I don't think he can win comeback player of the year this year because he won it already. But I mean, like, he should be one of the candidates that we're talking about. And that particular market's absolutely insane. And Vrabel's an unbelievable coach. The defense is pretty good. The offensive line is where it might fall apart for Tennessee. Mm-hmm. But, like, if they can run the ball, and Vrabel's so good, and I think Tannehill's really good, I think they're going to beat New Orleans in week 1. That's like better coach and better quarterback for Tennessee, +3 on the road at New Orleans. I'll take Tannehill over Carr. I'll take Vrabel over Dennis Allen. I don't dislike the Tennessee play at all. I don't know if their upside is to, like, win the conference, but, like, they could be there on Championship Sunday, so I do agree with you there. I do not dislike that call at all.
Nice. I mean, again, we're talking about a +6,000 play here in the NFL, so, I mean, there is that, but at the same time, what are you going to do? We got to do something here in August. We got to set our future selves up for something. And I think that, again, Championship Sunday, you're going to be looking back at yourself and you'll be like, thank you, past me. That was awesome, because you're going to have a great, great Championship Sunday if you're holding one of those teams at +6,000. The NFC is a lot different, though, Nick. I think you'll agree. Like, that's got to be the most wide open conference. I mean, I don't know that I've ever seen, but I will say that I've ever seen, because I'm going through the prices here and it's just like, what are we doing? Like, who is it? Like, who is the team? You got anybody that could kind of come up and surprise us?
So if we're going to use the word surprise, I think that kind of has to take like a team, because it's the big 2 in the NFC, right? It's Philly and it's San Francisco.
The Eagles and 49ers.
I would like to eliminate the Cowboys from consideration. Dallas is like +650. They've won 12 games back-to-back years. I think we've removed Detroit from consideration. Mm-hmm. I would never take Detroit, but Detroit's like +850. I think New Orleans stinks. I think Carr stinks. I think Dennis Allen stinks. Now the schedule should be pretty, like, they could win 9 games because of the schedule, but I don't think the Saints are any good. I don't think their upside is to ever get to the Super Bowl. I have no interest in taking Atlanta. I know that's a team a lot of people like, but I have no interest in the Falcons.
Everybody, Nick.
Yeah, I can't. Listen, the schedule's it's really easy. If Ritter's good, like, they can be good. I'm personally not there yet on Atlanta. We want to take a long shot here. A little bit of homerism for me on this. And I would never bet this team to go over their win total. Never. Because I think there's a chance that they're going to be really bad. And Ken and I on You Better You Bet, we did a series over the summer called 8 Buckets, where we try and it's like a humorous kind of schedule analysis, right? And at the end of it, we kind of arrive on, hey, is there a win total bet to be made on this team based on the week 1 point spread? The week 1 point spread says that the Giants are bad. They're 3.5 point. And by the way, like, I actually think there's no way that number closes 3.5. I think it's going to close 3. It's like, I bet Giants +3.5 because I think I'll get closing line value come kickoff. Like, that point spread, whether it's 3 or 3.5, means that the Giants are bad. Like, they are not going to be a good team this year. And obviously went to the playoffs last year. But if you extrapolate the week 1 point spread over the balance of 17 games, this is like a 6-win team. Like a 6-win team. And I know they went to the postseason last year, but the bull case so it's never a win total over for me. Because, like, I think there's a chance they're going to win 6 games and go 6-11. The bull case, though, for the Giants is maybe Brian Daboll is just the best coach. And that is firmly right now in the range of outcomes. A sensational year 1 for Brian Daboll, where, not that I'm like the be-all end-all of NFL football and decision-making, but I think I'm pretty good at this kind of thing. When a situation comes up in a game, like, what do you want your head coach to do? The team that you root for, the team that you bet on. And like 99% of the time when I'm watching a Giants game as either a fan or a bettor, and I'm thinking, I would want him to do this, he always does it. He always does it. And Kafka's great. And Wink Martindale is maybe not on like the Fangio level of defensive coordinator, but he's not terribly far behind. Like, the coaching staff is amazing. And if he can kind of coax a better season out of Daniel Jones with more weapons, whether it's Waller coming over from the Raiders, I'm pretty bullish on Jalen Hyatt, the 3rd-round wide receiver, the Biletnikoff winner out of Tennessee, because they need a field stretcher in the worst way. And Daniel Jones does throw a good deep ball, where I think the bull case for the Giants is that the coaching is so good that it could get them to Championship Sunday. So do I think like it's something that happens on average? No, probably not. I think there's a chance that they win 6 or 7 games for sure. But if everything hits and this coaching staff like hits at zenith, I think this team could be playing on Championship Sunday, and the price is right at 22-1. And also, like, I think they could easily win in week 1 against the Cowboys.
That would be huge. That would be huge for them. Obviously, you want to start 1-0, but I like your point at Hyatt. Hyatt is we're at the part of the year where you're watching just random clips on Twitter and talking about how great a guy is, but he looks so fast. It's not even funny. Like lightning fast. So you got a field stretcher right there.
And it's worth noting that like the Giants released a couple social media videos after the draft of like Dable and Joe Shane, the general manager, like it literally in the war room, in the draft room. And I think people really respect Joe Shane. Like he's done a really good job so far. Maybe he's a dud, like maybe he stinks. I think right now, I think the general consensus is he's pretty good. They consider taking Hyatt in the second round. Like, and then they took the center out of Minnesota, Schmitz, John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmitz, whatever his name is, in the second round. And then they got Hyatt in the third round. So I mean, their evaluation on Hyatt was pretty good. So like if you, the person listening or watching, like if you think Shane's pretty sharp, and I think the book is still out, right? The jury's still out. If you think he's pretty sharp, then like Hyatt's probably going to be pretty good. Maybe not like dominant the way like Randy Moss did as a rookie, but could be like give this offense like a jolt that they didn't necessarily have last year.
I think people were just out on him because of his injury, right? Like, didn't he get hurt at the end of last year at Tennessee?
Yeah, and it's the Tennessee offense, even more so than other offenses in college football, like super duper gimmicky. So I think that's something that maybe kind of held back the evaluation a little bit. I'm not claiming to be like a film guy, a film grinder, or anything like that. I watched him play. He looks really good. He's fluid. He's fast. The Giants needed that. Jones throws a good deep ball. I really like the fit.
Well, as a guy who was taking a bunch of Tennessee Volunteer team totals over after he got hurt, it was not very fun for me on Saturdays. So there is that. So Jalen Hyatt was very important to that team, gimmicky or not. I mean, you couldn't run what they were doing without him because they tried and they couldn't do it. Also, too, the quarterback got hurt as well, so that didn't help either. Anyways, for mine, all right, Nick, you're going to be like, what are you doing? But I like to start at the bottom of the screen, the OddsJam screen, and just go up, right? So Arizona Cardinals, no. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, no. Then you come to the Washington Commanders. They're in, right above them is the Los Angeles Rams, Carolina Panthers, Chicago Bears. Of those teams, they're the only one to me that, I'm not going to take their win total over, but I mean, maybe like possibly. I mean, because again, not a very strong conference. I mean, you got two teams at the top there. Jalen Hurts, I'm not saying he's going to get hurt. No one's saying that. But again, injuries happen. Like, what happens if he got hurt? Then what is that team? Same thing with the 49ers. You saw like last year in the championship game, they couldn't even throw a forward pass because they didn't have a quarterback. So things happen. The Commanders might not suck. Like, they might not be that bad at all. Like, Sam Howell, what if he's good? They have a decent defense. Rivera, I mean, again, you take out the 15-win season, and I think he's like a 500 coach. So there is that. I mean, and he got carried by Cam Newton, who was just ridiculous that year. But he did go to the Super Bowl before. I mean, you can't take that away from him. You just can't. They got guys to throw to. McLaurin, I mean, has never had a good quarterback ever, it feels like. Dotson, that kid is nice too. So they've got pieces, and they're plus 4,000. I mean, plus 4. Like, how cool would it be to have a plus 4,000 team playing? Again, you start to go up on that list. The Atlanta Falcons, they're obviously what people are saying. I see them at plus 3,000 somewhere. The Packers, now you're going to your Giants, the Vikings. I mean, as you go up, you only get to the Eagles and 49ers before you're like, okay, I'd be willing to bet them. So for that reason, I'm going to be a Washington Commanders fan for probably 5 weeks before they're out of it. But again, plus 4,000. Do you think they have any chance? I mean, Chase Young, what if he's like Lawrence Taylor, like we haven't seen much of him. I mean, guy gets hurt. I mean, is that defense that bad?
No, not only is it not bad, I think it's really good. Rivera, multi-time Coach of the Year winner. Ken Barkley, my co-host on You Better You Bet, who I think is one of like the sharpest guys out there in the space. His biggest, and like, I think I'm speaking properly for him right now. I could be wrong. I think I'm right about this. I think it's his biggest position right now in terms of a win total right now thus far. And obviously we still have some time to go before the season starts, is Commanders over their win total. With the thought being, and like I think you nailed it, right? If Sam Howell's good, like what's the ultimate upside of this team? Now, maybe the ultimate upside is like to get to Championship Sunday and like lose to Philly or lose to San Francisco. But like, I like the way you're thinking. And I think this is how people should be thinking at this time of year, right? Where if you're going to take a shot right now, it should be on a team that's got volatility built into it. This team's got major volatility. We don't know if the quarterback's good or not. The one time we saw him last year, week 18 against Dallas, he was great. And like all the quotes out of Washington are really good, whether from him or from his teammates or from the coaching staff. So, and also they're 6-point home favorites. I actually think that number's, I think that number is like worth betting now, that Washington number. There's like a legitimate chance, like an actual chance that Clayton Tune starts in week 1 for the Arizona Cardinals. I'm being serious. Like that might happen.
That's so bad.
And even if he doesn't, I think there's room for this number to actually go up, the Washington Arizona number. I think 6 might actually be worth betting because I think like it at worst, it closes 6. I actually think you might beat the market if you bet that right now. They're very likely to start 1-0. So like you'll have at least the first win under your belt. And if Howell's really good, I think the sky's the limit. So like, do I think they're going to win the conference? I don't. No. But like, do I acknowledge though that it's possible, that it's in the range of outcomes? I do. So therefore, I think it's like worth a stab at a huge number.
I would say, I mean, look at it like this. Like, let's say the 49ers stumble early out of the gate. I still think they're around at the end. What if you got them mid-year? You know, again, like they stumbled. What if you got them mid-year plus 1,000 or so? Like you could literally be watching this game plus 1,000 on one side, plus 4,000 on the other side. Why wouldn't you want to do that? You know, so that's something to think about. I mean, again, like not the best futures guy, but I bet the Lions last year to make the playoffs. They did not make it. They started very slow, but I'll be honest with you, that was an incredible sweat. It was so much fun that I want playoff teams.
Yeah, and bad officiating in week 18 in the Rams Seahawks game in Seattle, or like that doesn't happen. You get there.
They were right there, and it was just like being like something about that market that I never really dove into. That man, I want in. I want in bad after last year. It's got a little taste. Again, I think we just kind of nailed it right there, Nick. I mean, we have 2 teams from each conference to make the playoffs, or 4 teams, I'm sorry, and then a bunch of teams to win their conferences.
Love it.
Let's be proud of this.
Let's make it happen.
I really do. All right, well, that's going to do it for us. Thanks, guys, for watching. Nick, thanks for coming on, man. If you're not listening to his show, you better bet. That is seriously what I listen to every single day of the week during the football season. Like, I'm not even lying. I listen to it every single day. So thanks for coming on, man. We'll see you soon.
You got it. Appreciate it, Slop. Thanks for having me. Wishing you and all your listeners and viewers minimal sweats, winning bets, the absolute very best of luck.